Hi there, I'm Harris Buddig, y'all's Patagonia, Northern Rockies fly fishing rep, here in the Yellow Dog Studios to go over our new Patagonia Swiftcurrent waders. But before we talk about what is coming out with the new, I'm first going to chat about the differences of what the old wader versus the new wader and what updates we made there. Followed by that, we're going to go through all the feature sets and benefits of the Swiftcurrent Expedition Zip Front wader. And then following that, we'll go into the Swiftcurrent Expedition non-zip wader as well. So whenever Patagonia comes to me and says we're going to be revising a certain product, I always get a little nervous, especially when some pieces like our waders are already doing so well. And that's lent to our previous wader, the Swiftcurrent Expedition lineup. We saw a rate of waders coming back to us than less than 1% for return or repair. So when they say, hey, we're going to be revising this already not broken piece, you get a little bit nervous. However, I'm so stoked to see the thoughtful changes that we made with the wader. But before we talk about the changes, I think it's important to see what lent to our success and what stays the same with the Swiftcurrent Expedition Zip Front wader and the old one. So the number one thing that lent to our success is double taping our seams. And so wherever you see this highly technical fabric, the 100% recycled polyester conjoined at a seam, we actually double tape those seams. The other thing that was huge in lending to this low return rate for repairs or returns was making a gusseted crotch in our patterning system. So instead of 4 pieces of fabric, like in the Gallegos and Skeena, if you remember that years ago, we now have a gusseted crotch where then you only have 3 pieces of fabric conjoining at this high wear and tear area. We kept that with the new Swiftcurrent lineup. Now let's talk about some of the changes because there's always room for improvement. The number one thing that we did change the seaming construction. So with the old baseball seam construction, it gave it like an athletic or a tapered leg silhouette to the wader. So, it had almost an athletic fit to it. So you'd feel tightness a little bit in the knees, and especially where the booty meets the wader as well. And especially for bigger guys like me with fat calves, it was almost kind of a chore to get the waders off. And so with the new seaming construction, we actually size and grade the sizing that much more accurate, so it's easier to slip on and slip off. So with the new wader, we end up changing that seaming construction to have a singular anterior and a singular posterior seam. And this does a couple things for us. One, it allows us to make these waders that much more repairable. We can actually take certain sections out of the wader and repair this wader so it gets to you and gets you on the water faster than ever, lowering our turnaround times at our wader repair facility in Reno, Nevada. The other thing that we found out with the old seaming construction is that it helps us with sizing grading, because with that baseball seam construction like in the old wader, we found that the circumference where the wader meets the booty was the same circumference in the men's extra small as it was in the men's extra large. And so by going to this new seaming construction, you have a little bit of a more finely tuned or more accurate gradient. So if you've ever experienced taking our old waders off, yeah, it could be a little bit of a jostle to get them off your feet. However, you're going to find these to slip on and slip off that much more easily. Another thing that is new for these waders is that they are made with non-intentional fluorinated chemistry. And you've probably seen this in the news, this idea of PFAs or PFABs that live in our everyday life. And it actually, whether it is in our waders, in our computers, in our devices, these chemicals actually leach into our water systems. They cause all sorts of nasty liver complications and birth defects. And so we've been working towards this technology for 15 years or so. And we finally found a solution where neither the membrane nor the DWR treatment on these waders has that nasty chemicals embedded into it. And you may be thinking like, oh, if we're getting a healthier fabric or a healthier product, does that mean I'm going to sacrifice in performance? And we actually found out that by moving to this new technology, we actually increased our tear resistance on the wader, and we also made them a little bit more waterproof as well. Now, the important thing, which a lot of folks don't maybe understand, is that we really do need to wash our garments, especially our waterproof garments as well. Because what makes the wader waterproof is essentially the membrane. And for us, we have a dual membrane essentially. We have a hydrophilic laminate and a hydrophobic coating. And to make sure that that coating or that membrane is keeping us dry, we need to also make sure that it's clean. So we suggest that you depending on the wear and tear or the use of the waders, that you wash these waders maybe 2 to 3 times a year even, to help revitalize that fabric and keep these waders waterproof as well. So now with this new fabric package, these are the cleanest waders on the market. All right, so let's jump into some of the very thoughtful feature sets that got revised for spring 25. First and foremost, starting from the top down, our padded shoulder straps get a little bit wider. We got a lot of feedback from our customers and ambassadors that sometimes we wanted a little bit more surface area to cover those shoulder straps because they may fall off if they were a little too loose. So you have a little bit more coverage here up top. In the back of the wader too, in the back strap, we added a little bit more elasticity to that back shoulder strap. So when you go and bend down or release a fish, those shoulder straps will work with you rather than against you. The other thing that does update here is our hook and ladder closure system. That gets a little bit wider and a little more intuitive so that you can take these wader straps on and off. Also, it makes it really nice to kind of finely tune where you want those straps to sit on body, depending on what your layering system is as well. Going down, you still have the Easy Lock suspension system here, so you can convert any of our waders into a waist high wader. The other thing that we also added to these waders, which is very thoughtful, is this anchor point lash system. So now you can integrate either our 3-liter or 5-liter switch pack into the waders themselves. Looking to the inside, we still have that drop-in pocket on the right-hand side that is open. But however, on the other side, we add a zippered security closure. So if you have a phone or any other accessories that you don't want to get lost, it's nice to have a little bit more security on that left-hand side. Also, a big update as well is that we're chatting with a lot of our customers, and now that phones are more or less waterproof now, this waterproof pouch is now removable and not welded into the wader like in our previous iteration. But you still have, your PU coated zippers here in the front, which are water resistant. You also have hand warming pockets that are lined with a micro gridded fleece. You also have a storm flap here, which is a very thoughtful feature because it makes sure that the top of that zipper doesn't chew up your hand, especially on those cooler days. Moving further down, we still have our secure stretch wading belt that is static through a majority of the belt and has a couple inch give and elasticity in the back. So you can carry, either a wading staff, or if you need to carry like a 10 mil if you're in Alaska, these will now sit tight to your hip. Moving further down the wader as well, again, remember we updated the seaming construction to have that singular anterior and posterior seam so that it makes it easier for us to repair the wader, and it makes it a little bit easier in terms of the size and grading, so it's easier to get in and out. The other thing too is that we still have our padded knee pads, and this is one of my favorite features that we've ever introduced, especially if you're on having a technical approach on a spring creek, or if you're leaning up against a rock or releasing a fish, or for myself, I'm pretty clumsy, so they actually saved my knee after I slip and fall coming in and out of the river. So those are still there and very much beloved by everyone who's ever stepped into these waders. Moving further down, we don't update the gravel guard. We found great success in this gravel guard in terms of having that ultralight black hole fabric on the inside of the cuff with the perforated gravel guard along the outside. We find that that cuff construction does a really great job at shedding water, so that if you're getting in a drift boat or a raft, you're not picking up water with you as well, or you're not carrying that along the riverbank as well. The other update as well, we still have 4 millimeters of neoprene in that booty. On the inside of the booty is a polyester gridded material, which adds a little bit of warmth to the booty. So I find that it makes a lightweight sock a midweight sock, and a midweight sock a heavyweight sock. So it's really nice in terms of consolidating some of that bulk, especially in the booty itself. But overall, this is our most feature-rich, our most burly wader. When the going gets tough, I'm grabbing these on my next fishing trip. Come on down to Yellow Dog Fly Shop. We have a plethora of sizes. We'd be happy to get you dialed in for your next fishing adventure.